Isn't it crazy that everyone has to make a leap of faith in life, in relationships and in religion and philosophy? When should you make yours? That's the topic of today's conversation. Let's get into it. Well, it's day 9 of the Hopeful Skeptic Coffee Chat. I invite you to sit back, get a cup of your favorite beverage, mine's coffee, and think about today's question. You know, this morning I had breakfast and a coffee with one of my best friends, and we just talked about this kind of stuff. He is a devout Christian, and many of our conversations have to do with this because we both love talking about it. And I think one of the coolest things is that we don't see eye to eye on a lot of these topics, and we were even reviewing some of my videos and his thoughts on it because I wanted to know his position. And it was cool to go back and forth and be challenged in my own thinking by somebody that I care for and that, you know, is literally one of my best friends. Do you have relationships like that? And I asked that knowing that it's pretty rare, even for me. Like, if I'm thinking about who I can talk to about deep theological and philosophical questions, it's a scarce list, and he's at the top of it, and he may be the only one that I can get to that level with. And I talk about this stuff a lot. And so for you, if you don't have somebody in your community that you can talk to about this stuff, I invite you to talk to other people in the comments. And I've seen more people engaging there, and that's really encouraging because that's the goal of this channel, is to spark conversation, to spark intellectual thought and discovery together. And so if you haven't checked out the comments, I'd highly encourage you to do so. So enough plugging that away. The question of the day is a good one. Should you take a leap of faith, period? Or when should you make a decision versus keep looking? So I love this question because speaking of conversations, I've had conversations with other people about this, and many times it gets to a crossroads where I am encouraged to take a leap of faith. And that's not always from a theistic position, or in this case, a Christian perspective. Sometimes it's from an atheistic perspective. There's enough evidence here, you know, so my Christian friend may say, hey, these are the great reasons to believe in the Christian faith. Are they foolproof? No, but they can lead you, you know, a lot of the way there, and then you got to leap. Or you have people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, very popular, probably the most popular astrophysicist in America. And he said numerous times that the things we don't know, it's okay. Like, we have somebody working on that. And that's usually part of his God of the Gaps conversation is, you know, how did the universe start? What's dark matter? Things that are really important that we haven't discovered yet. He's like, we've discovered all these other things, and the conversation or the questions that you're having are good questions, and we got our best people working on it. Just take a leap of faith that they're going to find a naturalistic explanation, that you don't have to invoke God into the gap in knowledge, which is what, you know, God of the Gaps boils down to. So both sides do it. And why? It's because both are trying to get you across a cavern of ignorance with a bridge of knowledge, but both bridges stop before the end. It would be nice if one of them completely fell down and the other one crossed, and then everybody could just, you know the right answer. But unfortunately, both are sturdy. Both start crossing the cavern, but unfortunately, both stop before finishing. And what you're left to do as a thinker is to say, which one do I think goes the farthest, and therefore I'm willing to walk to the end and just leap and have faith that it's close enough to the other side that I'll catch the other side. I'll land on the other side of the chasm instead of falling to my intellectual demise and being wrong about a question that is literally life and death if we're taking it from a heaven and hell perspective. And so, you know, if we just go back to the question, like, should you take a leap? Unfortunately, you're going to take a leap. You know, and as much as I hate the concept of faith, of making a decision based on partial evidence, even if I were to do what I wanted to do or want to do and just sit in this interim zone of like, oh, I'm assessing both bridges. Well, I have a finite amount of time in my life, and eventually I will die. If I don't jump off either bridge and I stay, let's say, agnostic, you have a 100% chance of being wrong. At least jump to one of them, because one of them at least has a chance of being right. If you choose nothing, if you choose everything is possible and therefore I just don't choose anything, you have a 100% chance of being wrong. Even if one of the bridges has a 0.1% chance and the other one has a 0.2% chance. That's better than just not choosing. So in my mind, unfortunately, we have to leap. So I think the real question is, when should you make that decision? When should you make a leap? I think it starts with, you need to have at least a good lay of the land. If you don't even know that another bridge exists, it's not time to leap. Okay? And that doesn't mean, oh, well, I did 3 years of university study for this abstract religion that went extinct 1600 years ago. I'm not talking about that. And I'm not talking about just, viewing major world religions. But do you have some level of philosophical training? And I'm talking about like elementary level. Like, do you know what a philosophical argument is? Do you know like logical progression? Like there's premises and therefore there's a conclusion. And do you know generalized fallacies, just so that you can have your thoughts make sense, just so that you're not thinking about the world in a way that is clearly wrong. You just are not aware. So I think you have to have some level of philosophical understanding. And again, that can be as simple as what I just said. Like, have you sat down with somebody or just did one quick Google search of what is a philosophical argument? How do you think logically? What are common fallacies? Boom. I think that's enough. Like, should you and can you do more? Yes and yes. But you don't need a degree in philosophy in order to decide if you believe in God or not. Then, I think you need to start understanding the literal thousands of years of religious and philosophical arguments, and now scientific arguments, throughout the lay of the land. And honestly, you're on a platform right now that is filled with an amazing resource in breadth of knowledge that has never before been available to humanity. Like, do you understand that if you're somewhere, I'm 31. When I was a child, we used encyclopedias to find knowledge. Do you understand? I can pull out my phone and ask an AI questions and it will search the internet for me. It's not even, I have to Google it and look at some articles. No, AI will go do it for you and just tell you instantly. Like, we have so much access to knowledge. Learn some of those key, building blocks to the bridge, right? So, common arguments for and against the existence of God, common arguments for and against whatever religion you're evaluating. In my case, usually this channel is about Christianity. Have you read any books? Have you learned the basics? And I think if you're on a channel like this, you probably know a decent amount. So should you make a leap if you're in a position where you feel like you haven't? Well, unfortunately, you're on a channel of a guy that is trying to figure out how far each bridge goes. So I don't think I've made the leap. So hopefully I'll know the answer when I make that leap. And maybe in this channel, I'll document doing that. But as of right now, I personally believe that I need to spend some more time. And that's not a lifetime, even though there's hundreds of lifetimes worth of information to learn, but at least more searching, more conversations like I had this morning with one of my best friends about this topic, so that when I'm thinking out loud, you guys can comment and say, actually, Jonathan, I don't agree with that. This is why. Or actually, I think that's a great point. Here's another perspective. Or when I'm having a conversation with a friend, and that can happen in real time. That's why I do encourage you to have a community of people that you can do that with, because there's so many people that believe ridiculous ideas, and they don't have anybody to lovingly, kindly to say, hey, actually, I know you say, the earth is flat. Have you thought about the people that, go up in spaceships and turn around? Have you thought about that? Like that? Have you seen the pictures? Millions of them of the planet. Have you noticed any mathematician, cosmologist, physicist that believes the earth is flat? Like, sometimes we just have ideas that are that crazy, but don't sound that crazy because everybody seems to believe it, right? Sometimes we need somebody to kind of be like, hey, that's a little crazy, and you can, and as you gain trust with friends and family to talk about this more and more and more, you get more comfortable with people disagreeing with you and not being a problem. You invite it. I love the fact that I can sit with one of my best friends and be like, this is what I think. I know you think the literal opposite. Let's talk about that. And not in we need a therapeutic environment. No, it's like, this is the reason that you are quoting from this book, from this thinker, this author, and this is why you think that I'm wrong. Okay, this is why I think that guy's wrong. Okay, and you actually have an intellectual conversation. I digress. I think community is amazing though. But when should you leap? Like I said before, I'm on a journey figuring out when I'm gonna leap. I don't think I'm there yet. And maybe people need different things before they leap. But unfortunately, that's a decision you're going to have to make on your own. Because we all have a finite life. We all have to make a decision or not make a decision, which is your decision. And it's only you that are going to live inside your head. It's only you that are going to have that worldview. And if God exists, and if the Christian God exists, it's only you that are going to meet that being one day. So, have you made a leap? Do you think the evidence gets you all the way across the chasm, or do you agree with me that you do have to make a leap? And how big is that leap? Which side, atheist or theist, gets you closer to the other side? Let's talk about it in the comments. This has been day 9. Thank you so much for joining, and have a fantastic day. Cheers.